Greetings, TahtheebTeam Educational Services Company review team. This is David Barnett, and I am really glad to have a chance to interact with each of you again. For some of you, it's been a while. Salah and I just finished a review a couple of weeks ago, but it's always good to work with Salah, of course. But all of us have been through this process before. We've served on many teams, led teams, and so I'm not going to waste your time in calling a meeting. However, I do want you to watch this short video and then send me an email and just tell me that you've watched it. And if you have any questions, let me know what those questions might be. If you don't have any questions, then let me know that as well. Okay? So let's see if we can get this to progress. There we go. One of the things that's really important is that you do spend some work looking at the evidence that's been provided. We just have the link, just got the link today within the last 2 or 3 hours. And I'm going to provide it for you, a copy of the link, and it's also in the workspace where you can get to it. The DAT has been loaded, and you're going to get, hopefully you've already gotten a link to that, but I'm also going to give you a link here in just a few minutes. The example that I've shown here is not actually for Tahtheeb, but you all know the drill, right? I mean, you know each of the standards, you know each of the levels in the I3 rubric, and then what evidence have they provided to support the work that's in each of those levels. You do not need to, at this point, go through and rate each of the levels, engagement, implementation, results, and so forth and so on. We'll do that, of course, during the review. But I do need you to take a look at the evidence and start identifying some really important pieces of evidence. I can't stress how important this is, and I know, today is it's just you have 2 or 3 days before the review actually starts. So, but if you could spend a little bit of time there, I'd greatly appreciate it. And one other thing, it is really, really critical that many of these documents are in Arabic. And so without a great deal of effort of trying to translate those, I'm not going to be able to read them. Now, they have translated several documents, and so I certainly appreciate that, but there are many that are not, and probably have some very important evidence there, and I'm counting on each of you to make sure that we do not miss that evidence. I've made some team assignments. You can see here I'm asking Rabab to take the lead on the leadership domain. Fadia, if you'll take the lead on the learning domain, and then Salah, if you'll take the lead on the resources domain. What that means, of course, is if you'll focus on the evidence in each of those domains, especially in your particular domain, and then when we have conversation around each of those domains, you'll be responsible for leading the conversation. You'll be responsible for rating the first rating for each of these standards in each of these domains. We have a very small team, and I'll be supporting each of the domains, and so that's why my name is not listed there, because I will be trying to work with all 3 of you. But I appreciate your willingness and your expertise in these particular domains. This is just an example. You all know that sometimes when you look at evidence, it may generate some questions. And there are some questions that are provided by Cognia. When we have the focus groups, you will see that those are also going to be a part of, or the questions will be a part of that. We're going to look at the schedule here in just a minute, and you'll see a little bit more clear of what I mean when I say the need for the questions. Of course, our goals, this is just information you already know, to assist the company in identifying strengths and then areas of improvement, and then to assist the organization in enhancing learner achievement. Rules of engagement, again, this goes without saying, but I'm going to say it anyway. Make sure that you're on time. Be respectful for each other's comments. Uh, if you're asked by Tahtheeb personnel how we're doing, just have a generic answer. For example, you could say, "Well, we're still gathering data." And we won't have time to chase rabbits. And what I mean by chasing rabbits, that means that we don't have a lot of time for extraneous conversation. So I may say during a conversation, okay, we don't have time to chase rabbits. And what I mean by that is, well, our conversation has gone a little bit off task. And so keep that in mind. Of course, professionalism is important. If you have questions about process, remember that you will need to run those questions through me. And then, of course, the confidentiality of the entire process is so very, very important. So how do we accomplish our task? We work collectively. We provide honest reflection. We recognize the actions that have been taken by the group, and then we identify themes that provide research-based data to assist the stakeholders in implementing school improvement initiatives. Now, in the resources folder, or in the resources space in workspace, you can. This is just a screenshot. I have put in here the final schedule that we're going to talk about in just a few minutes. I've also put in here the DAT, the link for the DAT. Also, there's a link for the evidence here, and so you can see that I put in those three links. Also, sometimes we forget where is my Zoom link, and so I've added it to this space here, and you can see, depending on which Zoom that you want to get into, if it's just us, the ERT, then you would use this particular link. However, if you're going to church inside and you plan to carry some things inside and out, then you'll need to register, and getting approval for going to church is not that difficult, but it can be a timely process. Okay, let me go back here, and I'm going to pull up the schedule. So as a reminder, all the times, or the times in the black are Saudi time, all right? And so on April the 3rd, we're going to start at 11 o'clock in the morning. And so on April the 3rd, we'll start at 11 o'clock. That's Saudi time in the morning. That will be 4 o'clock in the morning for me here in the U.S. And we'll start with the overview of the improvement journey. Then, of course, respect for prayer time, which happens at noon. And so the prayer time will follow this overview, and the prayer time will happen at noon every day, and for 30 minutes. And then we'll rejoin, and we'll start our focus group process. Now notice here, and when we have the governing board, that we're all together, that the entire education external review team is together. But then, when we get down here a little bit further, you can see that we're splitting apart because we have a very talented and skilled team, and to try to facilitate this process and make it as streamlined as possible, we're going to have a couple of focus groups going on at the same time. And so each of these, we have an hour, but realize that you have to have some time for some breaks or transition between the two. And so each of these should go about 45 minutes. And I'll be making an assignment depending on which group each person ends up. And then we have team deliberations following each day. We have here following about 15 minutes after the last session. On some of these, even though we have team deliberations, we will have deliberations, but it may not be very long. On the other hand, there will be some evenings, probably the second and especially the third evening, that we might have deliberations that would go for a few hours. Uh, but you all know that I really do try to keep us focused, and again, with the talent on this team, I don't see going into the wee hours of the morning or anything of that nature. Again, the links for each of the Zoom meetings is there, and the people involved are listed there as well. So the first day, again, we have primarily presentations and focus groups. The second day, we interview, still doing interviews, so here we have students and parents, and notice these are split. Okay, this starts at 11 o'clock. We have interview with students and principals going on at the same time. And this will mean that we'll assign breakout rooms, and I may need you all to help facilitate that some. And well, in fact, I know that I will. But even the process of setting that up sometimes can be a bit daunting. But anyway, we'll get it done. We have prayer time, and then we start back in earnest at 12:30. And you can see all the things that are going on and when they're going on. That's day 2. On day 3, I think by this point we have probably interviewed everyone that we should have interviewed. However, I have put this day in here as kind of a catch-all day. If there are people that have slipped through the cracks and we say, oh, we didn't interview XYZ, then we're going to use day 3, the Tuesday, to settle the score, to make sure that those people do indeed have been talked with. The last thing that I want is for somebody to say, well, I was there and nobody offered to talk to me. And so we're going to use this day as kind of a catch-up day to make sure that we've not forgotten anyone. And then finally on Wednesday, again, in the morning, we'll have deliberations, but I can tell you that most of the stuff that we're going to be doing will have been completed before then, because I'm kind of like nervous Nancy. I don't want to wait until a few hours before the last meeting presentation to make some decisions. And so even though I have us down there for 2 or 3 hours of deliberations, I can tell you that I'm not going to let you go the day before until we get those things done. And what are those things? Well, of course, we have to identify themes, and both positive and negative, and we have to rate each of the standards and the level of commitment on each of the standards, and also we have to, let's see, we said rates, and we have to, the themes, maybe I've talked about that, but anyway, we have plenty of work to do, but it's going to be done before this day. And then the final presentation will start at 1:30 on Wednesday, and that usually lasts a half hour to 45 minutes, and then we'll be done. So when you finish this, watching this, please send me an email and say, David, I've watched this. I only went to sleep twice or 3 times, whatever, however many times you went to sleep. And then if you have any questions, do let me know. Now, I want to take you back to the first day. You see it starts at 11 o'clock. Okay, it starts at 11 o'clock. I'd really like for each of us to log into this particular Zoom link at 10:30. If the team would log into this at 10:30, I could try to answer any last minute questions that we might have. So I'm going to test your memory. So on Sunday, if you will log in at 10:30 Saudi time, 10:30 in the morning Saudi time, then I will hopefully be online. That'll be 3:30 in the morning for me, but that'll be okay. All right, friends, it's good to talk with you and to hear from you, and I get to see you in just a bit. Thanks, and we'll be in touch.